In my past life, someone stole 50 years of my brain. I studied myself to the brink of collapse, to the point of wanting to jump off a building. He leveraged my knowledge to get ahead effortlessly, rising swiftly to the top, eyes open again, back to the day of the college entrance exam. I smiled, watching that gentle, jade-like face in the crowd. After some thought, what should I learn in this life? At 2 a.m., I turned on the complete collection of horror movies. The next day, the top student in the grade screened and flipped the desk in the exam room. The proctor was completely baffled. Me, I was quietly taking my exam in the next room. June 7th. The sun was blinding. I stood at the entrance of Linchuan No. 1 High School, my mind buzzing. Principal Zhao was beside me. He patted my shoulder and said something, but I couldn't make it out. All I felt was, something was wrong. Am I not dead? Memories pierced through me like shards of glass. 50 years. A full 50 years. Ever since the day of the college entrance exam. My consciousness has been trapped in an endless void. There is no day or night, no hunger or fatigue, only books, textbooks, theses, literature, data. Endless information is crammed into my mind, as if someone pried open my skull and poured concrete inside. Yet, all that knowledge, every word, every formula, every theorem, flowed entirely toward another person. Wen Jisheng, my classmate, the top student in our grade, is the apple of every teacher's eye, and I, Qibei Wang, am the ordinary person, who always sits in the back row, with average grades, and a presence so faint it's nearly non-existent. No one knows what I've been through. On the day the 50-year cycle of learning ended, my spirit felt like a wrung-out towel. I jumped from the rooftop of the 6th floor. When the wind rushed into my ears, I even felt a sense of relief. And then, I'm standing right here, at the school gate. Principal Zhao's hand remained on my shoulder as he said, "Bai Wang, don't be nervous. Just perform as you normally would." I glanced down at my hands. Clean, unblemished, 18-year-old hands. There were still calluses on his knuckles from writing practice tests last night. "Si, Bai Wang." Principal Zhao leaned in. "Why are you so pale? Didn't you have breakfast?" I lifted my head, saw the crowd. Students in school uniforms walk toward the exam hall in small groups, some still flipping through their notes, others giving each other encouraging words. And in the midst of the crowd, Wen Jihang stood there. He wore a white shirt with the cuffs rolled up, holding a bottle of water, and smiling as he spoke to the girl beside him. That face, gentle, clean, with just the right touch of youthful charm. When the corners of his eyes lifted slightly, anyone would see a promising young man with a bright future. My stomach twisted. It's not anger. Anger has burned itself out over 50 years of cycles. What remains is something profoundly cold, like touching an iron railing at 4 o'clock in the morning in winter. "Bai Wang." Principal Zhao called out once more. "It's fine." I heard my voice, unnervingly calm. "Principal, I'm going in." I took a step forward. As I passed by Wen Jihang, he tilted his head toward me. "Keep going, Bai Wang," he said with a sincere smile. "Just like in my last life." I smiled back. "You too. Keep it up." He nodded, then turned back to continue chatting with the person beside him. I walked through the school gate. Only one thought ran through my mind. Last life. It was that damn learning feedback thing he hooked me up with that turned me into a juice extractor. Everything I've learned, I owe to him. 50 years worth of knowledge, spanning physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, humanities, and philosophy, engineering, medicine. He easily got into top-tier universities with these integrated undergraduate, master's, and doctoral program, rising academic star, youngest professor, candidate for academician, principal investigator of a national-level project. And I had a mental breakdown, jumped, and died. I'm back now. That link for giving back. It's still there. I can feel it. There's an almost imperceptible thread in my mind connecting to a certain direction. It's like an invisible filament has been woven into my veins. This means whatever I learn now, Wen Jisheng will still receive it. This link I cannot sever. He was the one who started it in the last life, and I never had any control. I stood at the foot of the exam building looking up at the windows. On the 3rd floor, The sunlight was too harsh. I squinted, since we can't cut it off, then make good use of it. In my past life, you made me study quantum mechanics, differential equations, and genetic engineering. This life, I want to learn something different. I enter the examination hall. Sit down. The proctor distributes the exam papers. I glanced at the title. Chinese. Great. For someone who's been forced to study for 50 years. The Chinese language section of the college entrance exam is as simple as a kindergarten matching game. I picked up my pen and began to write. Each question is as clear as if it were etched into my eyes. The essay topic is the gift of time. I almost burst out laughing. The gift of time. Time's gift to me was a nervous breakdown, and the roar of wind that filled my ears as I fell. But I voted anyway. I wrote it neatly, properly, flawlessly. I could recite the template for a perfect essay in my sleep. 40 minutes. Finished the entire exam. The proctor saw me put down my pen and was taken aback. I laid my head on the desk and pretended to sleep. The gears started turning. The college entrance exam is in 2 days. The real work begins after the exam. I need a quiet environment, a computer, and a viewing schedule for the effects of horror imagery on the human nervous system. 2 days later, the college entrance exam is over. The moment the bell rang to collect the final English exam papers, the entire examination hall erupted in excitement. Some cheered, some cried, and some tossed their pencil cases into the air. I stood up and walked out carrying the transparent file folder. The school gate was packed with parents. I don't have a parent picking me up. Not in my past life either. My parents passed away in a car accident when I was in 9th grade. Since then, I've been supported by the school's financial aid. That's why no one noticed anything off about me. No one cares what happens to an average student orphan with no family. I pushed through the crowd and headed straight for the internet cafe next to the school. Boss, I'll take the overnight shift. ID card. I take it out. The boss glanced over and said, just finish the college entrance exam. Come play games to unwind. Watch a movie. Roger. Unit 7. I sat down. Plug in your headphones. Open the browser. Type a few words into the search bar. The world's top 10 banned films collection. Banned-level horror film resources. Uncut Japanese horror film ring. Thai cult horror film. Thalassophobia. Test footage. More documentary. Real footage. And then, I open the first one. The screen dims, and the image brightens. A dimly lit corridor. At the far end, a woman in a white dress, her face obscured by her hair, was slowly turning around. The background music is a grating, fragmented sound, like someone scraping glass right by your ear. I leaned back in the chair. Her expression remained calm. 50 years of mental torment. This little thing won't scare me. But the fear I learned through that link, it would flow straight into Won Jihong's mind. Unchanged. It's not knowledge. It's sensation. It's imagery. It's emotion. Learning feeds back into learning. Do you think the only things we give back are formulas and theorems? No, it feeds back into all the information the brain receives during the process of learning. Watching a horror movie is essentially a process of learning and memorizing visual information. The brain remembers every frame, every chilling sound effect, every surge of adrenaline. All of these experiences wash over you. I smiled for the first time. It was a laugh that rose from deep within the chest, tinged with a certain chill. When Wenjixing in a past life, you stole 50 years from me. In this lifetime, you've really given me a good time. 1 o'clock in the morning. I've already finished watching 4 of them. The screams and eerie soundtrack coming through my headphones were like white noise to me. But I knew that right then. In Wenjixing's dream, those images were flooding in like a tidal wave. The internet cafe owner passed behind me, glanced at the screen, and his legs went weak. Holy, what the hell are you reading? Dude, that's seriously disgusting. The screen displayed a close-up of a corpse, slowly bloating in a bathtub. Documentary, I said. Academic in nature. The boss gagged and ran off. I'll keep watching. The next day, at noon, I walked out of the internet cafe. The sun felt warm on my face. I bought a bowl of wonton soup from a street vendor and ate it squatting on the steps. Halfway through my meal, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered it. Hello. Is this Chibai Wang? It's me. This is Mr. Liu from the Academic Affairs Office at Linchuan No. 1 High School. I wanted to talk to you about something. When Wenjixing came to school today to pick up his exam stub, he didn't seem like himself. He mentioned having a severe nightmare last night and looked quite pale. Since you're in the same class, how well do you know him? Would you be able to check in on him? I added a spoonful of vinegar to the wonton soup. Oh, okay. Mr. Liu, I'll check it out later. Thanks a lot. He hung up the phone. I chewed on the wonton, and my mouth curled up slightly without thinking. Couldn't make it through the first night. The movie lineup for the next 2 days. He had to cry out for his mother after eating the wontons. I didn't go see. When Ji-hong, I'm heading back to the internet cafe. The afternoon lineup is the Claustrophobia series documentary on mind collapse, elevator malfunction surveillance footage, buried alive themed film. I was watching very attentively. I even took notes. What kind of visuals have the greatest impact? What kind of rhythm most effectively stimulates the amygdala? What sound frequency is most likely to trigger a stress response? I am studying. Study diligently. And everything I've learned all are being transmitted in real time. 3 p.m. The phone rang again. Still the Academic Affairs Office. Bai Vang. Have you checked on Wen Ji-hong? His mom just called saying he's been shaking at home and wondering if the school's exams are putting too much pressure on him. I'm on my way, Mr. Liu. I said, starting the next movie. Sure. Thanks a lot. Hang up. On the screen, a person was buried alive in a coffin, their nails scraping against the lid as blood dripped from their fingertips. I turned the brightness all the way up, let the brain process it more clearly. Day 3 afternoon. I stood at the door of Wen Jixing's house. It's really happening. Not because teacher Liu asked 3 times, but I'd like to see the results for myself. Wen Jixing's home is a villa in the heart of Linchuan City. His father is in real estate, so the family is well off. A housekeeper answered the door. Who are you looking for? I'm a classmate of Wen Jixing's. I came to see him. Oh, please come in. The young master is in his room upstairs, though he hasn't been doing too well these past couple of days. I nodded and went upstairs. The door to the room at the end of the hallway was slightly ajar. I pushed it open. The curtains in the room were drawn so tightly that not a sliver of light could get through. The air conditioning was cranked so high that stepping inside felt like walking into a freezer. In bed, Wen Jixing curled into a tight ball. The quilt was pulled up to his chin, leaving only his face exposed. His face, once gentle as jade, was now deathly pale. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. Chapped lips. His eyes were bloodshot. He heard a sound and snapped his head around. In that instant, I saw his pupils dilate sharply, and his body gave a visible shudder. Then he recognized me. Bai Vang. His voice was hoarse, like sandpaper in his throat. I came to see you. I pulled up a chair and sat down. I heard you weren't feeling well. He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing. I've been these past couple of days. He paused. His fingers clenched the blanket. His knuckles turned white. I've been having nightmares. A nightmare? I asked with just the right amount of concern. What kind? It was incredibly vivid. His voice began to tremble. Not like a dream. More like someone was forcing images directly into my mind. Forcing the visuals. Yeah. He shot upright, eyes locked onto mine. Bai Vang, have you noticed something's off? Ever since the day of the college entrance exam, I felt something pouring into my head. Before, it was knowledge, physics formulas, chemical equations. But these past 2 days, his voice suddenly rose. It's all nonsense. I almost lost it. I held it together. Ghosts, corpses, coffins, things crawling, and that sound. He covered his ears with his hands, curling into himself. I close my eyes and see those images. I open them, and those things are standing in the corners of the room. Bai Vang. I interrupted him, my tone steady. Are you under too much stress before the exam? Do you want to go to the hospital to get checked? It's not stress, he practically shouted. I told you it's not. There's something's being forced into my mind. He stared at me, bloodshot eyes. There was fear. There was collapse, and a faint, almost imperceptible trace of panic. He didn't say it out loud, But I knew what he was afraid of. It wasn't just the terrifying images that frightened him. What he feared was that learning feedback loop has been turned against us. But he didn't dare to ask, because asking it out loud would mean admitting he is aware of this link. He knew someone had been bound to him for 50 years. He knew that person was me. The air fell silent for 3 seconds. I stood up. Get some rest. I said, it might just be a dream. You'll feel better in a couple of days. Northward gaze. Ha! His lips parted, but the words seemed to catch in his throat. In the end, he only managed to say, "Thank you for coming to see me. It's nothing." I turned and walked out the door. As I descended the stairs, I could no longer suppress the smile on my face. Top of the class, the chosen one, man who lived his whole life on stolen knowledge, now starting to feel afraid. Too late. I stepped out of the villa's front gate. The sunlight falls on my face. I pulled out my phone and opened the Notes app. There's a list written above. Completed. Horror film. Visual impact. Completed. Induced claustrophobia. Completed. Thalassophobia imagery. Next item. Psychiatric case study video. I scrolled down to the next line. Complete anatomy instructional video. High definition. And censored. Next line. War trauma PTSD trigger library. I locked the screen and slipped it back into my pocket. When Ji-hong, you must have stolen 50 years of my life in your past life. In this lifetime, I'll repay you day by day. 3 days. I stayed at the internet cafe for 3 whole days. I didn't move from my spot except to eat and use the restroom. The boss is used to it. They even refilled my coffee twice without me asking. Every time he passed my desk, he would instinctively look away. On the morning of the 4th day, when I stepped out of the internet cafe, I saw 17 missed calls on my phone. 9 of them were from the dean's office. 3 of them are Wenjixing's mother of **** years. 5 belonged to the homeroom teacher. Old Wei. I picked up Lao Wei's reply and sent it back. Qi Baiveng, where have you been? I couldn't get through on your phone. Old Wei blurted out. Internet cafe. You never mind. Just get to the hospital. Now. Who's in the hospital? Wenjixing. Ha! I replied, my voice laced with surprise. What's wrong? He's had a mental breakdown. Last night, he started smashing things at home and terrified his mother. They've taken him to the psychiatric department at the city center hospital. You're his classmate. Come and see him. Okay. I'm on my way. I hung up the phone. I crouched by the roadside, chewing the last bite of the bun and swallowing it down. Psychiatry. Already in the psych ward by day 4. I had originally planned for a week. So, it seems Wenjixing's mental threshold is much lower than I imagined. That makes sense. He's never known hardship. I was forced to study in that space for 50 years, because I had no other choice. But him. His entire 18 years of life have been smooth sailing. After I subjected him to 3 days of horror movies, it just crashed. I stood up and patted the dust off my pants, walking toward the bus stop, Linchuan Central Hospital, Department of Psychiatry. When I arrived, quite a few people were already standing in the hallway. Old Wei, Teacher Liu from the Academic Affairs Office, and Wenjixing's mother, a well-maintained middle-aged woman, stood with red, swollen eyes, a crumpled tissue clutched in her hand. And Wen Guxing's father, Wen Guoyang dressed in a suit and tie, his face was deathly pale. Seeing me approach, Old Wei waved. Bai Vong, come here. I walked over. How's it going? I asked. Lao Wei lowered his voice. The doctor said it's acute stress reaction, possibly with hallucinations. We'll need to keep observing. But why? What is suddenly? I frowned, my voice tinged with confusion. Who knows? Old Wei sighed. His mom said he suddenly started screaming in his room the night before last, claiming he saw a face on the wall. Yesterday it got worse. He smashed all the mirrors in his room, saying something was staring back at him from the glass. Mirror. It just came to me. The movie I watched the night before last. The protagonist sees another version of himself in the mirror, his eyes slowly turning toward the camera, his mouth splitting into a grin that reaches his ears. I kept a straight face while watching, but what Wang Xing's received was it's an immersive experience of fear. It's not watching a movie. it's living the experience. Because what's being transmitted isn't the visual imagery itself. It's the complete set of neural signals generated as the brain processes those images, including fear, rapid heartbeat, dilated pupils, and muscle tension, all physiological responses. And I endured 50 years of mental torment. My fear threshold has gone off the charts. The same scene. My brain doesn't generate a fear response, but it does generate a cognitive signal. Specifically, I am intently studying this video content. The learning feedback loop captures precisely this type of cognitive signal. Then, the raw information was fed directly into Wang Xing's mind. As for Wang Xing's, his brain would process this information like any normal person's would. A person who had never experienced fear was suddenly flooded with high-density, terrifying visual cognition. It's like suddenly infecting a computer that's only ever run Office with ransomware. The system crashed outright. When Jixing's mother, Chen Yuhua, saw me, she hurried over and grabbed my arm. You, Ri Baivang. Right. Her voice trembled. Jixing talked about you all the time. You know him best. Was he acting strange before? Was the exam pressure too much for him? I noted her choice of words. Jixing talked about you all the time. In my last life, your son used me as a battery for 50 years. I never knew right up until the end if he ever remembered my name. Auntie, we were all studying before the exam, so I didn't really notice. I said, but he did mention to me before that he wasn't sleeping well. I knew it. I told him not to stay up all night. Chen Yuhua turned to look at Wen Guoyang. See, it's all your fault. Constantly pushing him to be number one. Wen Guoyang's lips tightened into a thin line, and he said nothing. Just then, the hospital room door opened. The attending physician stepped out. Family! Wen Guoyang stepped forward. I'm his father. Student Wen Jixing's emotional state has stabilized for now, and the sedatives are still taking effect. However, his condition is rather unusual. The doctor adjusted his glasses. The hallucinations he describes are extremely detailed and vivid, unlike the vague, indistinct visions typically produced by a stress response. What is that? 1. Guoyang pressed. My initial assessment. It seems somewhat like PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Trauma. When Guoyang frowned. What trauma could he possibly have? He's never suffered a day in his life. The doctor also seemed puzzled. Logically, that shouldn't be the case. But those images in his mind, according to his description, they involve corpses, confined spaces, scenes of extreme violence. These are the kinds of intrusive flashbacks typically only experienced by someone who has genuinely endured a severe traumatic event. A few seconds of silence hung in the corridor. Chen Yuhua's face went pale. Doctor, are you saying my son has been through something we don't know about? It's impossible to say at this point. A further psychological evaluation is required. I stood to the side, my expression mirroring the frowns, the worry, and the confusion. The performance was just right. When Gu Weiyang took a deep breath. Can I go in to see him? Okay, but don't provoke him. Just 2 people go in at a time. When Gu Weiyang and Chen Yuhua went inside, I leaned against the corridor wall, staring at the ceiling. Old Wei sidled over and lowered his voice. Bai Vang, do you think this kid has been bullied before? Schoolyard stuff or something? Impossible. I shook my head. He's the top student in his grade, and well-liked. Who would bully him? That's strange. Lao Wei scratched his head. 5 minutes later, a scream echoed from the hospital room. It's not a woman's. It belongs to Wen Jixing. Don't turn off the light. Don't turn it off. The sound pierced through the door, carrying a raw, tearing quality. The nurse rushed in. Everyone in the hallway exchanged bewildered looks. I lowered my head. I stared at my phone screen. The memo is still open. I put a check mark next to psychiatry case records. Then I added a new line. Next phase, advanced mathematics. Objective, to prevent him from taking the exam. I locked the screen. 3 days of horror movies were just the warm-up. The goal is to shatter his psychological defenses. Let him know the taste of fear. Let him know what it's like to have things forced into his mind. But this is not the end. The end is strip him of everything. In his past life, he got into a top university by stealing my knowledge. In this life, I'll turn that very knowledge into poison. How do I change it? It's very simple. The college entrance exam results aren't out yet. I haven't submitted my application choices yet. If before the results are released, I flooded my mind with a chaotic, contradictory, and erroneous barrage of academic information. What Wen Jihang received was no longer correct knowledge, but noise. It's interference. It's a chaotic stream of data, enough to make him doubt his own memory. He'll start to lose the ability to distinguish which knowledge he truly learned for himself. Which ones are being forced in? Which ones are correct? Which ones are incorrect? When a top student begins to doubt everything they thought they knew, he's done for. No rush for now. He's still in the hospital. The sedative's effects last for a while. I need to give him the illusion of recovery. Let him think the nightmare is over. Put his mind at ease. Then, at the moment he let his guard down. One more round. I lifted my head outside the window at the end of the corridor. The sun was sinking below the horizon. Paint the entire corridor orange. It's so warm. I take a deep breath. Let's take a break today. I'll start reading the calculus textbook tomorrow. Linear algebra, probability theory, discrete mathematics. Learn the right way first, then learning the wrong way all over again. Forcing both the right and the wrong into his mind at once, like two different frequencies of noise layered on top of each other. The kind that drives a person mad. Wen Jihang, you made me study for lifetimes in my past life. This life, now it's your turn to give it a try. What does it mean? A fate worse than death. Wen Jishing spent 5 days in the hospital. I was discharged on the 6th day. I didn't do a single thing during those 5 days. No horror movies. No picking up random skills. I kept a regular schedule and ate normally. He even went to school to collect his graduation certificate and the stub of his college entrance exam admission ticket. A 5-day blank period. It was enough to let Wen Jishing's psychiatrist breathe a sigh of relief. It was probably just a transient stress reaction. The pressure of the college entrance exam was too much. It was enough to put Qin Yuhua and Wang Guiyang's minds at ease. The child is fine now. Let's not put too much pressure on him in the future. It was enough to make Wen Jishing believe those nightmares were just dreams. He had simply been too much on edge. On the day he was discharged, I went to see him, brought a bag of fruit, apples, and oranges. When Wen Jishing opened the door, his complexion was noticeably better than it had been during his hospital stay. But the dark circles under his eyes hadn't fully faded, and he had lost a noticeable amount of weight. Look north. He smiled and stepped aside to let me in. You're recovering well, I said, placing the fruit on the coffee table. Your complexion looks much better. MHM. He settled onto the sofa and poured a glass of water for me. Those few days, I think I was genuinely under too much pressure. The doctor said there's nothing physically wrong. That's good. I took the water and took a sip. Wen Jishing's living room was spacious. Floor-to-ceiling windows let the sunlight flood across the entire floor. He sat on the sofa, his fingers absently tracing the rim of the cup. There was a moment of silence, gazing northward. MHM, how did you feel about your college entrance exam? I thought for a moment. Not bad. Just playing normally. That's good. He nodded, then added, have you thought about which school you'd like to apply to? Haven't decided yet. What about you? He paused, his gaze flickering slightly. I was planning to apply to Tsinghua University, but now I'm not so sure. Why? It's just my mind feels a bit scrambled. He rubbed his temple. There are things I know I remembered clearly, but now, when I try to recall them, something feels off. Maybe it's from all the sedatives they gave me during my hospital stay. It might have messed with my memory. I nodded in understanding. I did a quick mental calculation. His memory was starting to get jumbled, but for now, it was just a slight haziness. Not enough. Far from enough. It should be back to normal in a few days. I said, get some good rest, and try not to overthink it. Yeah. He smiled. Thanks for always coming to see me. Well, we're classmates. After all, I stayed a little longer, making small talk. When I left, Wen Jishing saw me to the door. Bai Vang. I turned around. He stood in the doorway, backlit. His expression was somewhat complicated. The nightmares those few days. His voice was barely a whisper. What I dreamed was too vivid, not like a normal dream. I waited for him to continue. For a moment, I felt as if those images were coming from outside, not from my own mind. He stared into my eyes. Probe. A gentle probe. I met his gaze, frowning slightly with a puzzled expression. From outside. What do you mean? He looked at me for 3 seconds. Then he averted his eyes and gave a slight laugh. It's nothing. I'm probably just overthinking it. Hey, don't freak yourself out, I said, patting his shoulder. Get some rest. I'll treat you to a meal once the results come out. Okay. I turned and walked down the steps, the sound of the door closing behind me. I didn't look back as I walked out the main gate of the complex. I pulled my hand from my pocket. My palm was slick with sweat. Just then, in that instant, he was testing me. He's suspicious, but he has no proof, and he didn't dare to ask directly. Because asking directly would mean admitting he knows about the learning feedback loop. And he knows I'm the one bound. He won't open the lid himself. Not for now. At least. I eyed the sweat from my palms and took a deep breath. Phase 2. Begin. That evening, I went back to the internet cafe. But this time it wasn't to watch a horror movie. I opened a website for advanced mathematics instruction, starting to watch the advanced mathematics video. Start from the limit, the epsilon delta definition, the Cauchy convergence criterion, series convergence tests. I'm paying close attention, taking notes, following the derivations. That's correct. All of it is correct. I've been watching for 4 hours straight, and then I'm turning off the video. Open the webpage. Some sketchy math forum that post someone shared about an amateur scientist disproving the Riemann hypothesis. It's all nonsense from start to finish. However, the language is quite formal, and the formulas are written in a proper, professional manner. If you don't have a background in mathematics, it's easy to be intimidated. I began to study this material in earnest. I went through it word by word. I used my full mental capacity to understand and memorize it, just as I would with a proper textbook. The proof that 1 plus 1 is equal to 3. The derivation of pi equals 4. Infinity can be compared in magnitude, along with a rigorous proof that 0.999 is not equal to 1. It's all wrong, but my brain is processing this information in learning mode. Learning is a two-way street, not a matter of right or wrong. It merely transmits signals from the brain's cognitive processes. First, immerse in 4 hours of correct information, then follow with 2 hours of the absurd for Wang Zhixing. 2. Contradictory mathematical systems would simultaneously emerge in his mind. One told him the epsilon delta definition was like this. The other told him it was something entirely different. Which one is real? He can't tell the difference, because both sets of information originate from the same source. The feedback link in his mind. These pieces of information carry the same credibility label. It's like someone whispering, "The sun rises in the east," and "the sun rises in the west," into your ears at the same time. The two sentences were equally loud, equally certain in tone. You'll start to doubt yourself. 2 a.m. I shut down the computer. I rubbed my eyes. That should be enough. The dosage on the first day shouldn't be too high. Take it step by step like a slow-acting poison. The next day, morning, correct physics, mechanics, electromagnetism, optics. The afternoon of bad physics. Posts from amateur scientists claiming to overturn relativity, blueprints for perpetual motion machines, and papers arguing that the speed of light is additive. I even found a 20,000-word essay someone wrote proving Newton's third law wrong. I was utterly fascinated. Day 3. Morning. Propeshamisti. Organic reaction mechanisms. Electron cloud orbitals. Afternoon. Alchemical texts. Medieval records on the preparation of the philosopher's stone. And experimental reports on transmuting mercury into gold. My attitude remains consistent. Diligence. Focus. Immerse oneself completely. The brain doesn't know right from wrong. The brain only knows its owner is studying hard. Then transmit. Day 4. Received a WeChat message from Wang Jihong. Just 4 words. By Wang. What are you doing? I looked at those 4 words and smiled. It's 3:17 a.m. the time he sent the message. 3:17 a.m. That means he couldn't sleep again. Those conflicting messages started battling it out in his head. I replied, "Can't sleep. Just scrolling on my phone." "What's up?" 3 minutes later, he responded, "Nothing. Just checking in." I didn't reply again. "Put down your phone. Continue playing the next video. Biology, the ethics, and technology of gene editing." Seriously. I watched it for an hour, then cut to 100 pieces of evidence for flat earthers. I was completely engrossed. Day 5. Lao Y is on the phone. Bei Wang. When Jihan's results are out. "Huh. That fast?" "Yes. The query is open today. Have you checked it?" "Not yet. Check it now." "Oh." And when Jixing's mom just called me, she said after Jixing checked his grades, his mood took another turn for the worse. "What's wrong?" He didn't give any details, just that after checking his score, he kept pacing back and forth in his room muttering, "No, this can't be right." Over and over. I was taken aback for a moment. Then it hit me. When Jixing had gotten his exam results. But it doesn't add up. His memory of the knowledge in his mind has become jumbled. He might realize, when seeing the answers to certain multiple-choice questions, that the answers he wrote during the exam don't match the knowledge he now remembers in his head. I was so sure the answer was B at the time. But now looking back, I think it should be C. Which one is actually correct? This kind of confusion is enough to drive a straight-A student completely over the edge. Because the top student's greatest source of confidence is, "My knowledge is solid." And now that certainty has been shattered. What was his score? I asked. 680 points. It's still a high score. Because at the moment he took the college entrance exam, his knowledge hadn't been contaminated by me yet. I was still in my horror movie phase back then. But now, he's no longer sure how much of that 680 points was genuinely correct. That's pretty high, I said. What else is he worried about? Who knows? Old Y sighed. Maybe he's just too hard on himself. By the way, what did you get? I'll let you know once I've checked. Hung up the phone. I opened the score-checking website. I entered my exam admission number. The page loaded for 2 seconds. The numbers flashed onto the screen. 703 points. Top scorer in science in Linchuan City. I stared at the screen for 10 seconds. The culmination of 50 years of learning in my past life. Even though I'd been reborn into an 18-year-old body, all my memories remain intact. The knowledge accumulated over 50 years covers all high school subjects and extends far beyond the scope of the college entrance exam. A score of 703 was actually the result of me deliberately holding back on a few questions. I intentionally chose the second best answer. A perfect score would draw too much attention. I closed the web page, picked up my phone, sent a WeChat message to Wen Jixing. "The grades are out. What did you get?" 2 minutes later, he replied, 680 and you? 703. There was a long silence on the other end. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15 minutes later, he replied with a single word. "Oh." I can imagine the look on his face. Right now, there's a 23-point gap between the bottom of the class and the top. No, it's the former last in the grade, who surpassed the eternal top student by 23 points. He must be thinking, why, how did Xia Bei Wang suddenly score so high? Why was he, the top student in the grade, surpassed by a mediocre one? Is it related to that link? His mind must be racing, but he would never bring himself to ask. Because to ask it out loud is to lose. I put down my phone. The corner of my mouth quirked up. The show has only just begun. When Jixing, you know far too little right now. What you don't yet know is this. The chaotic thoughts in your mind won't just go away. They'll only keep piling up. And as for filling out your college applications, you have 3 days left. 3 days. I'll keep learning. Learn the right way. Wrongly learned. Turn your brain into a mush. You sit before the computer, your hand hovering over the keyboard as you fill out your college applications. Can't go on, because you're no longer sure what you actually know or can do. You don't know how much of what you know is real. You don't know which school you're worthy of. You don't even know whether you're truly that genius after all. This self-doubt is more terrifying than fear. Fear can break a person. Self-doubt to bring about extinction. 2 days before filling out the college application, I did something. I went to the library and borrowed 12 books, for advanced mathematics textbooks, for volumes of university physics, for organic chemistry textbooks. These are all legitimate textbooks. The Wuhan University edition. the Tongji University Edition, the Peking University Edition. Different versions, different systems, but the knowledge itself is correct. I spent the whole day sitting in the library. I've gone through the tables of contents, definitions, and key formulas from all 12 books, not in depth, only learned to the extent that it can be fed back and transmitted, a superficial approach to learning. But the volume is substantial. The sheer volume of information is staggering for me. I had already learned all this over 50 cycles of repetition. I was merely reviewing. But for one Jieshin, the core frameworks of 12 university-level textbooks flooding in within a single day. His brain couldn't keep up at all. This isn't the kind of emotional jolt you get from a horror film. This is pure information overload. It's like trying to cram 500 gigabytes of data into a 256 megabytes flash drive. The system will freeze up completely. That very night, I headed back to the internet cafe. Did another thing. I've opened up online lectures for 3 different subjects, all playing at the same time. On the left screen is linear algebra. On the right screen is quantum mechanics. The headphones are playing an English listening exercise. 3 streams of information are input simultaneously. My brain is simultaneously processing 3 entirely different systems of knowledge. 50 years of training have enabled me to do this. Triage. But when Jihan couldn't do it, his brain will receive 3 signals simultaneously. It was as if 3 people were speaking to him at once. The voices overlapped. I can't make out a thing. I can't remember anything. Nothing but noise remains. 1 o'clock in the morning. I stopped. He took a sip of water. After a moment's thought, I opened WeChat. I took a look at Wenjixing's social media feed. The latest post was made 3 days ago. A blank image. Caption. My mind is so noisy. There are a few scattered comments below. Jihong, what's wrong with you? Looking forward to your score. Hey, don't stress. Why would a big shot like you worry? No one took it seriously. I've left WeChat moments. Keep studying. 3 o'clock in the morning. My phone buzzed. It was from Wenjixing. Baivang, are you asleep? No. What's up? After a long while, he typed out a long paragraph. I think something's wrong with my mind. It's not the same as those nightmares before. It's different. I'm sitting at my desk trying to read the college application guide, but I can't focus. My thoughts are spinning so fast I can't catch them. It's like someone shoved a blender into my head. I asked a doctor, and he said it might be post-exam anxiety, but I know it's not that. Baivang, I'm really scared. No punctuation. Finished in one go. His hands were shaking as he typed. I read the passage, but my heart didn't skip a beat. Reply to him. Want to go to the hospital together tomorrow? I'll go with you. He replied quickly. No thanks. Probably just overthinking it. Get some rest. Okay. Don't stay up too late. I put down my phone. He won't go to the hospital. Because last time he went to the psychiatry department, the doctor just dismissed it as post-exam anxiety. A case of mental abnormality with no detectable organic cause. In everyone's eyes, it's just overthinking. No one would believe there was actually something being poured into his mind. Speak it out. They just think you're crazy. He's trapped inside. I looked up at the half-broken fluorescent light on the ceiling of the internet cafe, flickering on and off as if it were tapping out some kind of Morse code. Tomorrow, the day before submitting our college applications, the final round, the grand finale. The next morning, I didn't go to the internet cafe. Went to the bookstore. I bought a copy of Schizophrenia Pathology, a casebook of abnormal psychology, a copy of Brain Science, The Mechanisms of Memory, and Forgetting. Sitting in the bookstores reading area from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. 8 hours, word for word, the various subtypes of schizophrenia, neuromechanisms underlying hallucinations, typical manifestations of delusions of persecution, a classic case of memory implantation experiments, how the brain creates false memories and endows them with the same conviction as real ones. I watched it very carefully. This isn't just casual translation. It's about approaching it with a learner's mindset, seeking to truly understand and retain this information flows. Through that link, enter Wen Jixing's mind. He would suddenly know the symptoms of schizophrenia. He would suddenly know how false memories were implanted. He would suddenly know that the brain could create experiences that never actually happened. Then, he'll start to think, what if all this chaos in my head is coming from outside? What if something is wrong with my own brain? What if I have schizophrenia? That's the real killer blow. Horror movies have made him afraid of the outside world. The confusion of knowledge made him question the value of learning. And this knowledge about mental illnesses make him doubt himself, doubting one's own mind, doubting one's own perception, wondering if one is going mad. Once a person starts to doubt their own mind, he's truly finished, because the mind is the final line of defense. Breach that defense. A person becomes like a building without a foundation. It's going to collapse. 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I closed the book. I stood up. He took the 3 books to the checkout counter. A total of 127. I paid for it, leaving the bookstore. Passing by a barbecue stall. I bought 3 skewers eating while walking. The phone rang. Shinyu's number. I answered the phone. Bai Veng. Her voice was choked with tears. Can you come over? She shung. He's locked himself in his room. And won't come out. He won't answer me. I'm afraid he might ante. Please don't panic. I'll be right there. Okay. Please hurry. He listens to you more than anyone. I quickened my pace. I hailed a taxi. 15 minutes later, they arrived at Wen Jihong's house. Shin Yuhua waited at the door, her eyes red and swollen from crying. When Guo Liang is not here, he's on a business trip. How long have you been in there? I asked. It started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's been 5 hours now. I knocked, but there was no answer, and no sound from inside. I'm afraid. I'll go up and check. I went upstairs. I walked to the door of Wen Jihong's room. I knocked 3 times. She shung. It's me. Bai Veng. There was a moment of silence, and then a soft click. The lock opened, but the door wouldn't budge. I opened the door myself. In the room, it's a complete mess. All the books on the desk had been swept onto the floor. The notebook lay open, densely covered in writing. I stepped closer to take a look. It was all formulas, mathematical formulas, physics formulas, chemical equations written, and crossed out, and written again. The same formula was written 7 or 8 times, each version different. Some of them were correct. Some of them are just plain wrong. Some are a jumble of right and wrong, a 50-50 split. It's like someone desperately trying to find the right answer in the chaos. But every time they think they've got it, they remember another version. When Ji Sheng sat on the edge of the bed, leaning back against the wall, knees drawn up to the chest, arms wrapped around the shins, curled up into a tight ball, hair in a disheveled mess. The t-shirt is all wrinkled on the face. There are tear stains. He heard me come in and looked up. Those eyes. I know that look 50 years ago. During that endless 4th decade, I saw that same look in the mirror. Hollow. Fear. A complete loss of trust in one's own mind. Gazing northward, his voice was hoarse, as if forced from his throat. I'm here. I walked over and crouched down in front of him. Am I going crazy? Not a question. It is a declarative sentence. You're not crazy. I said calmly. You're just under too much stress. No, he shook his head violently, like a drowning man flailing. It's not the pressure. Bei Wang. My mind. There's something in it. Too much. I can't control it. He grabbed my wrist. He put a lot of force into it. Fingernails, digging into the skin. I have 3 different systems of advanced mathematics in my head. 3. I don't know which one is correct. I never studied advanced math before. But now I know 3 different versions of Taylor expansions, 2 of which contradict each other. I don't know which one is right. His breathing grew increasingly rapid. And physics, quantum mechanics. I only studied up to high school. So, why do I have the Schrödinger equation in my head? Why are there 2 different solutions? One telling me the wave function collapses, and the other telling me it never collapses? Knowledge. And action. And this afternoon, his voice suddenly rose, eyes wide. All at once, a flood of knowledge about schizophrenia rushed into my head. The symptoms, the pathogenesis. I looked at those descriptions. Every single one matched. Every single one fit my current state. He let go of my wrist. He clasped his head in his hands. His voice began to tremble. Do you think I'm schizophrenic? Is my own mind, is it fabricating all that knowledge to deceive me? Making me think something from the outside is pouring it in, when it's all just my own hallucination. He curled up even tighter. I can't tell anymore. Bei Wang. I just can't tell. I watched him curled up in the corner of the bed. 18 years old. A white shirt. I used to be the top student in my grade. The young man, who once seemed to have the brightest future in everyone's eyes. Now I feel like a bird stripped bare of its feathers. Shivering. Pathetically fragile. I reached out my hand. Hold his shoulder. Not very strong, but very steady. Knowledge in action. He looked up at me. Tears welled up in my eyes. You don't have schizophrenia, I said, my voice calm. You're just exhausted. Don't think about anything. Just go to sleep. I'll take you to the doctor tomorrow. Okay. He stared at me like a drowning man, seeing a piece of driftwood, grasped with a death grip. Okay. I helped him lie down. Pull the blanket over. Turn off the light. I left only a small night light on in the corner, because I knew he didn't dare turn off all the lights just yet. That was my fault. I stayed, leaning against the chair by his desk. I waited for his breathing to gradually steady. I waited until he finally succumbed to sleep, utterly exhausted. I looked down at the wrist he had grabbed. 4 fingernail marks. There was a scratch that drew blood. I wiped it off. Stand up. Walk over to the desk. Look at the notebooks filled with equations. Flip through a few pages. The handwriting was dense and cramped, becoming increasingly sloppy toward the end. The final page contained only one sentence. Which one is real? Which one is real? Which one is real? It took up a whole page. The same sentence, like a repeating incantation. I closed the notebook. He turned and walked out the door. Close it gently. Go downstairs. Shin Yuhua rushed over. How is he? Is he okay? He's asleep, I said. Auntie, he really needs to go to the hospital again. This time, he should see a psychologist, not a psychiatrist. Find a good counselor. Okay. She kept nodding. Bei Wang. Thank you. I don't know what I would have done without you. It's fine. I'll go with him tomorrow. Then I'll book an appointment for him first. I nodded, said my goodbyes, and stepped out. I stepped out of the villa. The night air rushed in. The July wind was warm, yet a chill ran through me. It's not guilt. It's contentment. A very quiet contentment. Like seeing light for the first time after 50 years of darkness. It wasn't the thrill of vengeance. It was justice. Finally, justice has been served. You've stolen 50 years of my life. You built your glory on the back of my suffering. You didn't even glance at me in your past life as I was falling from the 6th floor. You were in a top-tier university lab, smiling at your research data. Now, it's your turn to taste it. However, that's not all. Filling out the application is tomorrow. His current state can't fill it out, but that's not my goal. My goal isn't to prevent him from submitting his application. My goal is let him give up with his own hands. Make him feel like he doesn't deserve a good school. Let him dwell in self-doubt, choosing to retreat voluntarily. This is the real deal. It's not external force that's stopping it. It is a surrender of the heart. Tomorrow, I'll go with him to see a therapist. I'll be right there, offering gentle words of comfort. I'll act like the best friend in the world. And then, back home in the evening. Keep learning. The next morning, Linwan City Psychological Counseling Center. When Ji Shang was sitting next to me, the plastic chairs in the waiting area were hard and uncomfortable. He was wearing a black hoodie, the hood pulled up so only half his face was visible. Their fingers kept picking at the loose threads on their cuff. They haven't said a word since they walked in. I didn't say anything either, just keeping them quiet company. The receptionist called out a number. 2307. When Ji Xing he stood up. His legs felt weak, and he swayed slightly. I steadied him. Do you want me to go in with you? He thought for a moment, then shook his head. No thanks. I'll do it myself. Okay. I'll wait for you outside. He entered the consultation room. The door closed. I leaned back in my chair and pulled out my phone. I opened an academic database. I searched for the keyword, the impact of cognitive confusion on decision-making ability. A research paper. I tapped it open and began reading carefully. This is a formal academic paper. Correct research on how cognitive overload leads to decision paralysis. Great. This is also a form of learning. And the conclusion of this paper: when the brain is overloaded with conflicting information, individuals tend to avoid making decisions or resort to extremely conservative choices. This conclusion itself will also be transmitted to Wen Jixing by the link. He'll have this theory down pat in his head then. He'll apply this theory to himself. I can't make a decision right now, because I'm cognitively overloaded. That sounds like a moment of understanding, a sense of release, but in reality, it would make Wen Jixing even more convinced that something was off with him. It gave his avoidance a scientific justification. Make him feel I'm really not in the right place to make major decisions right now. Like choosing a major, a knife that cannot be seen handed to him. Let him cut it himself. 40 minutes later, the counseling room door opened. When Jixing stepped out, the expression had relaxed a bit compared to before going in, but the look in his eyes hadn't changed. Well, I stood up. The doctor says I have post-exam adjustment disorder. He said quietly. He advised me to avoid making any major decisions for a while, to let my mind rest. Something stirred within me. Did the doctor say that? Too. Perfect. But what about my college applications? I asked with just the right amount of concern in my voice. He was silent for a long moment. He kept his head down, staring at the floor. Can it wait a few more days? The deadline for submitting your application choices is the day after tomorrow. I reminded him. I know. He clenched his fist, then released it. Bai Veng, do you think I still have a chance of getting into Tsinghua? This issue. He's here. I looked at him. There was anticipation in his eyes. He was waiting for me to say, "Of course I can." He was waiting for me to give him a definitive answer. Just like 50 years ago, he expected me, on the other end of the link, to constantly feed him certain knowledge. But this time, I won't give him a definitive answer. Jixing. I weighed my words carefully. 680 is definitely enough to meet Tsinghua's cutoff. But what do you think? Are you confident you can keep up once you're in? One sentence. Light as a feather. But it struck precisely at his most vulnerable spot. His expression looked as if someone had him by the throat. I don't know, he said. There was a sense of collapse in the voice, like the foundation of a building cracking. Not down yet, but it's already starting to tilt. I patted his shoulder. Don't rush it. Go home and think it over. If you really can't decide, just put down a safe choice for now. You don't have to go for Tsinghua University. Yeah. He nodded. He gave a mechanical nod, stepping out of the counseling center. The sun was blazing. He squinted, as if unaccustomed to the light. I'll walk you back, I said. No thanks. I'll go by myself. Okay. Drive safe. He went the opposite way, shoulders hunched. He walks very slowly, like an 80-year-old man. I stood still for a moment, watching him until his figure turned the corner and disappeared. Then, I turned around, head in a different direction. Let's head back to the internet cafe. I have one last thing to do tonight, the final night before the application deadline. Need to learn one last thing. Not mathematics, not physics, not a horror film. It's Wen Jixing's success doctrine from his past life. Specifically, I'll seek out those arguments that claim prestigious schools are overrated, cases of depression after getting into top universities, the real story behind It's Lonely at the Top, the post about the genius crushed in dropping out of a top university. All of these, they're real cases, not fabricated, but when you look at them together, it creates a psychological suggestion. Attending a top school doesn't guarantee happiness. What if I can't keep up? Why not pick an easier school? This torrent of information flooded into Wen Jixing's already overwhelmed mind. It would become the final straw, compelling him to make that decision. That night, internet cafe, I spent 3 hours poring over countless personal accounts from students who dropped out of top universities, news reports of suicides linked to academic pressure, and feature articles about top scorers in the National College entrance exam, who fell into a slump after entering prestigious schools. All serious content. It is not misinformation, not a horror content, just a carefully curated truth. After watching, I turned off the computer, rubbed my eyes, took a deep breath. That's about right. The next day, last day for college application submission, 3 p.m., I got a WeChat message from Wen Jixing. I filled out the Northern Watch. What school? Linchuan University. Linchuan University. A standard Tier 1 university. The admission score threshold is 580. He scored 680 points and applied to a safety school that was over 100 points below his score. Why? I typed, "You've got a line to Tsinghua." A long time passed. He replied, "I'm not sure I can keep up. My mind is all over the place. Let's pick somewhere low-key. I need to settle in first." I looked at his message. No reply. Put down your phone, leaning back in the chair. The fluorescent light on the ceiling kept flickering on and off, humming. Wen Jixing, in your past life, you got into Tsinghua University with stolen knowledge. In this life, you gave it up with your own hands. Nobody forced you. Nobody's stopping you. You're the one who shut that door. I closed my eyes. 50 years. My 50 years in that dark space. No day or night. No one spoke. There are always more books to read. You can never stop learning. Feeling sick from studying. Studied until my nose bled. Studied until I was on my knees crying. Studied to the point of a mental breakdown. Studied until I felt like jumping off the 6th floor. And he, outside, sunny and bright, flowers and applause. The future is bright. I opened my eyes. Is that enough? He ended up filling out a regular first choice application. Is that enough? Not enough. Far from enough. But that's enough for now. Take it one step at a time. Choosing your college major is just the first step. His success in his past life wasn't built in a day. So, this life, I'm not in a hurry, either. Next, it's the 4 years of college. He is at Linchuan University. I head to Tsinghua, 703, top in the city. Pick any major at Tsinghua University. I picked up my phone, opened the college application system, click into Tsinghua University School of Science, Mathematics, and Applied Mathematics. Confirm submission. The instant the finger pressed down, I laughed. In my past life, you stole everything I was meant to have. This life, I'll get it all back one by one, and you'll only fit to watch from afar. End of August. The acceptance letter has arrived. Tsinghua University. Gold lettering on a crimson background. The courier knocked just as I was boiling noodles. I signed for it and tore it open. Inside was a welcome letter, a freshman handbook, and a bank card. I placed the notice on the table and then started cooking noodles. Nothing special. I spent 50 years learning in my past life. The admission letter from Tsinghua University was just a piece of paper to me. What truly matters it was Wen Jiheng, who didn't get the paper, finished the noodles, did the dishes. The phone is ringing. Wen Jisheng. Bai Vang. Have you received your admission letter yet? We're here. Tsinghua. Department of Mathematics. We're here. Linchuan University. Information Engineering. His tone was flat, but I could imagine his fingers tightening around the phone. Want to meet up before the semester starts? I said, sure. Let's set a time. Okay. Got it. I was sitting in the cramped living room of my rented apartment. Outside, the street buzzed with noisy city life. Downstairs, someone was arguing. There was a moment of silence. Open the memo. There's a new list above. University Stage Plan. Article 1. Study diligently and achieve good grades. Article 2. Maintain the relationship with Wen Jisheng. 3rd. Observe the transmission patterns of links, whether there are differences in distance, intensity, and content type. Article 4. Wait. Article 4 is highlighted. Wait for what? Wait for him to settle down. Just when he thought the nightmare was over. By the time he finds his new rhythm at Linchuan University. Actually, not that bad. Felt like I'd recovered. I guess that period was probably just post-exam anxiety. And then, let's do it again. No rush. In my past life, he stole 50 years from me. I have all the time in the world. September 1st. I boarded the train to Jinhua. Green train. Hard seat. 14 hours. Next to her was an elderly woman clutching a plastic sack, snoring loudly. I leaned against the window, watching the landscape outside shift from plains to hills, then to the city skyline. The phone rang again. Chen Yuhua. Bai Vang. Let Auntie know when you get to school. And stay safe. Sure, Auntie. Oh, and by the way, Jixing has been doing all right lately, and things should pick up even more once school starts. That's good. Bai Vang. I truly can't thank you enough. If it weren't for you during that time. Her voice caught for a moment. Jixing really considered you his closest friend. Best friend. My lips curled slightly. Don't worry, Auntie. We've always been good friends. He hung up the phone. The train plunged into the tunnel. The carriage grew dim. Only the small lamp overhead remained lit. I closed my eyes. After arriving in Jinhua, the cycle of learning and giving back will continue. The connection has no distance limits. Last life, I was in that space, completely outside the physical world's dimension. Yet transmission remains seamless. But I won't be attacking him as intensely as I did recently. That's too harsh. To alarm the snake by stirring up the grass. And what's more, when Jixing was no fool, he was already beginning to suspect something. Though he didn't dare confirm it, the idea that something was seeping in from the outside had already taken root in his mind. If I keep pushing at full throttle, he'll eventually follow this lead. I'll remember that link. You'll think of me. We can't let him confirm it. At least not now. So, the next move is low frequency, random, unpredictable. Sometimes nothing gets transmitted for a whole month. Sometimes a short passage suddenly floods in during the dead of night, making it impossible for him to discern a pattern. He's been up and down. Let him forever hover between normal and abnormal. I can't confirm if I'm fully recovered, nor could he confirm that he was getting worse. This uncertainty, it's more torturous than any specific attack. The train emerged from the tunnel. Sunlight flooded back in. I opened my eyes. Outside the window, the skyline of Jinhua City came into view. On the distant horizon, a forest of skyscrapers stood tall. Sunlight glinted off the glass facades, casting a golden glow. I stared at those towering buildings. In my past life, this city belongs to Wen Jixing. He studied here, became famous, and won awards, standing at the highest point, basking in the admiration of all. And as for me, once the body grew cold, not a single soul came to claim it. In this life, this city, it's mine. September 3rd, report to Jinhua University. Freshmen of the mathematics department. Assemble. The instructor called the roll. Qi Bai Vang. Here. Someone leaned over and whispered, "So you're this year's top science student from Linchuan. 703 points. Yeah. Damn. Bro, that's sick." I just smiled and didn't say anything more. We got our dorm assignments. A 4-person dorm room, bunk beds with desks underneath, and a shared balcony. 3 roommates. One was from Shandong, named Fang Jinbong. He was built like a mountain and had a voice like thunder. A man from Jiujiang, named Xia Mingyuan, wearing round glasses, very refined. A local guy named He Chuanling, with bleached blonde hair, and 3 earrings in each ear. I was observing them while they introduced themselves. Normal person. A typical 18-year-old college freshman, full of anticipation for the future, filled with curiosity about the world. They have no idea their roommate has lived through 50 years of time. No need to know. Come on, let's head to the cafeteria. Fang Jinbong slammed his hand on the table. I'm starving after check-in. All right. I stood up as well. As I was leaving the dorm building, my phone vibrated. Wen Jihan's Moments has been updated. A photograph. The main gate of Linchuan University. Caption. A new beginning. I gave it a like. Then I turned off my phone. I followed my roommates to the cafeteria. On the way, Fang Jinbang was recounting his emotional journey of solving the final math problem on the college entrance exam. Listen, I totally guessed on that analytic geometry problem. Picked C on a whim. Checked the answers after. And bam, got it right. It was meant to be. Used up all my math luck for this lifetime on that one. Shi Mingyuan adjusted his glasses. Then what are you doing in the math department? My dad sent me. Fang Jinbang said confidently. He Qianling was doubled over with laughter beside them. I laughed, too. It's a genuine laugh. This ordinary, effortless, meaningless kind of happiness. I've already forgotten it in my past life. No roommate in 50 years. There is no cafeteria. No sunlight. There are endless books to read, and a void that can never be filled. Hey, Bai Vang, what's on your mind? Fang Jinbang gave me a light punch on the shoulder. Just thinking about what to eat, I said. Then hurry up. The braised pork ribs at the #1 cafeteria sell out by 4:30. I started running to keep up with them. The wind whistled past my ears. A body at 18 is truly wonderful. As light as a leaf. College life has begun. The past 2 weeks, I didn't do a thing. Attended classes as usual. Ate meals as usual. Played games with my roommate as usual. The learning feedback loop was just idling. I was studying university-level math normally, and what I was transmitting was also correct university-level math. For Wang Jixing, fragments of mathematical knowledge would occasionally surface in his mind, seemingly out of nowhere. But since he was studying information engineering, which also involved advanced mathematics, he might have simply assumed he'd picked it up during his own preview of the material. It was of little consequence. That's it. Make him feel secure. Let him lower his guard gradually. Week 3. Friday night. In the dorm, Fang Jishinbang was gaming and cursing. Shen Yenyuan was doing homework. He Qianling had gone out on a date. I sat at the desk, gazing at the open mathematical analysis textbook under the lamplight. The phone lit up. Word. News of Wen Jiheng. Bai Veng. How have you been lately? Not bad. Got a lot of classes. How about you? Not bad. Got used to it. Then he sent a meme. A cat is sleeping on a book. I replied with a ha. A very ordinary conversation. But I noticed he didn't mention the nightmares again. He didn't mention the turmoil in his mind. He didn't mention the fear. Things were getting better. Or perhaps he thought he was getting better. I closed the textbook. I pulled open the drawer. There's a USB drive inside. It came with the old laptop I bought at the flea market last week. It contains some items. Not a horror film. It's an audio clip, an audio recording I made myself. Content is count from 1 to 1,000. It's utterly meaningless. They're just numbers. Pure. And simple. But, when I was recording it, I approached it with a learning mindset. I told myself, this is important data. I need to remember it. The brain enters learning mode. Then, these meaningless sequences of numbers would be pumped into Wen Jisheng's mind through the link. Not a formula. Not knowledge. Not a horror scene. Just noise. Pure. Meaningless noise that consumes cognitive bandwidth. It's like someone turned on a radio inside your head. Couldn't tune into any station. Only the sound of sand. The constant rustling sound. You can't turn it off. This is the core strategy of the third phase. No attacks. No intimidation. Do not cause chaos. Just bandwidth consumption. His mind will never function at full capacity again. Make him forever feel like there's static in his head. But it's just out of reach. I can't put it into words. Went to the hospital for a checkup. Everything's fine. You try to talk about it, but no one understands. It's like a thorn stuck in the sole of your foot. It's not fatal, but it hurts with every step you take. Every step is a reminder that something is off. I didn't start right away. No rush. Let him have 2 more weeks of safety first. Put his mind at ease completely. And then in the dead of night, just when he thought it was all over, a rustling sound began. Mid-October, the National Day holiday was over. 2 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. My roommates are all asleep. Fang Jinbang's snoring sounded like a tractor. I put on my headphones. Turn on the voice recording feature on your phone. Begin reciting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's very slow, fully focused, full cognitive engagement, like a devout student reciting crucial material. Learning mode activated. Link transmission initiated. 1, 327 1, 328 1, 329. I read for an hour from 1 to 3,600. Then stop. Take off the headphones. Turn over. And go to sleep. The next day, go to class as usual. There's no message from Wen Jiheng on the phone. They might not have realized it yet. Maybe I just have a vague feeling that I didn't sleep well last night. No rush. This kind of thing takes time. And practice. Once isn't enough. Twice isn't enough. Either. 10 times. 20 times. It's a process. Every 3 to 5 days. At midnight, the quantity is not large. It's only an hour each time. But it continues without pause. Constant dripping wears away a stone. The first week has passed. Week 2. Monday evening. Wen Jixing sent a message. Bai Veng. Have you ever had that kind of experience? Where there's a voice in your head that just won't stop? I was studying in the library when I saw this message. The corner of my mouth twitched almost imperceptibly. Reply. What sound? Is it tinnitus? It's not tinnitus, he said. It's like someone's reciting something. Numbers. Maybe. But I can't make it out clearly. It's really hazy. In your dreams. It's not a dream. It happens. When I'm awake. Too. During class. During meals. It's just very quiet. Like background noise. I typed. How long has this been going on? About a week or so. Have you been to the campus clinic? Yes. I had a hearing test. And everything came back normal. The doctor said it might be neurological tinnitus. And told me to get some rest. Get some rest then. Don't stay up too late. A minute passed. He sent another message. Looking north. Huh. Tell me. Am I really sick? I stared at the screen for 3 seconds. Then I replied. Don't overthink it. You were doing really well during that recovery period. It's probably just adjusting to a new environment. College is different from high school. And the pressure is no joke. Yeah, you're right. Get some good rest. All right. Good night. Good night. I put down my phone. I looked up at the library ceiling. The smile faded from their lips. His expression returned to calm. Everything is proceeding according to plan. He started hearing the voices, and it's undetectable by medical means. Because it's not something heard by the ears. It is directly received by the brain. No sound waves pass through the eardrum. So the hearing test always comes back normal. A brain CT scan would also show no abnormalities. Because those signals don't leave a trace on imaging. No results found. It's incurable. It's hard to put into words. The perfect torment. November. Autumn has arrived in Jinghua City. Golden ginkgo leaves carpet the ground. I walked across campus, stepping on fallen leaves on my way to class. The midterm exam for mathematical analysis just finished. I got a perfect score. No surprise there. But it did draw some attention. My calculus professor praised me by name in class. The department head spoke with me once and asked if I was interested in trying out for the school's math competition team. I politely declined. It's not good to be too high profile. A score of 703 on the Gaokao is already eye-catching. If you keep dominating all the way through college, sooner or later someone will compare me to Wen Jixing once public opinion starts to spread uncontrollable. Maintain a position near the top of the class without being the absolute best. This is the line I've set for myself. Good enough is good enough. True energy. It needs to be addressed separately. Wen Jixing's current status. I keep in touch with him via WeChat. We chat 2 or 3 times a week. Just write for his view. Scattered words. I could piece together a rough picture of his current situation. The noise in my head persists. Sometimes mild, sometimes severe. When mild, it's just a vague background noise that doesn't interfere with daily life. In the worst moments, he'd hear distinct numbers, each one popping up as if someone had planted a counter in his brainstem. He went for 2 more counseling sessions. The counselor's assessment is anxiety with somatic symptoms. I was prescribed some anti-anxiety medication. It felt a little better after taking it, but there's no cure, because that's not anxiety. Those were the number sequences I drilled into his head every 3 to 5 days. Medicine can't fix it. His studies started to suffer as well. It's not about poor grades. Given his background, the coursework at Linchuan University should have been a breeze for him. But my mind always feels sluggish during class, even with something very simple. My mind starts to wander after a while. I can't focus at all. After just 5 minutes of reading, my brain wants to check out. That's what he told me. The result of having your cognitive bandwidth maxed out. The brain's processing capacity is limited. When a portion of the bandwidth is continuously occupied by meaningless digital sequences, there's less room for clear thinking. It's like having a virus running in the background, constantly hogging the CPU. On the surface, nothing happened, but every operation is half a beat slower than normal over time. People can become dull, prone to fatigue, difficulty concentrating, memory decline. The most insidious part is these symptoms are almost identical to ordinary academic burnout. So, no one would think there was anything unusual about him, including himself. They also tend to think it's just not working hard enough or being in poor form. which makes me even more anxious. And then I sleep even worse. It's a vicious cycle. Late November. A Saturday. The phone rang. It's not Wang Jihong. It's Chun Yuhua. Bai Vang. Do you have a moment? Auntie wanted to ask you something. Go ahead. Auntie, has Shixing been acting too well behaved again lately? Has he said anything to you? I paused to consider my words. He mentioned having trouble focusing. What's up? He failed 2 subjects on his midterms. I fell silent for a moment. Expressed appropriate surprise. Failed. But he's never failed a class before. Right. Exactly. He's always been at the top of his class in every single exam since he was little. Chen Yuhua's voice grew urgent. When I asked him what was wrong, he just said his brain won't turn over. I asked if he wanted a tutor, and he said no. Bai Vang, do you think he never fully recovered after that mental breakdown he had? Auntie, I'm not really sure about this. I said, maybe he should see a psychiatrist again. The last doctor said there's no organic issue. But if this keeps up, he might need further evaluation. Exactly. That's what I thought, too. But his dad won't let him go. Says the psychiatry department is bad luck. Can you believe it? In this day and age. I soothed her with a few words. Hung up the phone. Sitting in the dorm. Fang Jinbang went out to play ball. Qi Mingyuan is at the library. He Qianling has another date with some girl he probably doesn't even know. I'm all alone. Silence. I failed the course. When Ji Xing failed the course. The top student in the class in my past life. Candidate for academician. Rising academic star. Failed the course during the midterm. A freshman year at a standard first-tier university. I failed 2 courses. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. Not a trace of a smile. There was no sense of satisfaction, either. It was just a calm realization of one thing. The plan is in effect. Next. Just keep things as they are. Don't increase the intensity. Don't reduce the amount. Every 3 to 5 days at 2 a.m. recite numbers for an hour. Continues until the end of the semester finals. He'll hang up more after a whole semester. He'll slide from poor condition into an academic crisis. And the academic crisis to a former prodigy. It's a collapse at the level of identity. I'm not the smartest one anymore. Maybe I never was. That knowledge, it wasn't really mine to begin with. And the third thought, he'll figure it out eventually. Just not right now. But someday. And when that day comes, this is the endgame. December. Finals week. The math department finals at Tsinghua University are notoriously difficult. But for me, I could do it with my eyes closed. The day I finished my last exam, I walked out of the testing room, and my phone vibrated. When Ji Xing, hey, Bai Vang, are you done with your finals? Yeah, all done. How about you? I've got 2 left. They're tomorrow. Good luck. That ellipsis. It's quite thought-provoking. He wouldn't tell me he was scared. But everything in that ellipsis was uncertainty. After finishing my final exams, I returned to the dorm. Fang Zhenbang was already packing his bags to go home. Bei Wang, are you coming back to Linchuan for winter break? Return. I'll treat you to dinner then. I know this amazing hot pot place. Super delicious. All right. I neatly arranged my textbooks and began packing my things. The phone vibrated again. This is a news push title. A first-year student at Linchuan University reportedly suffered a mental health crisis, breaking down in tears in a hallway during final exam week. I tapped it open. It's a short video. The video quality is terrible, clearly shot by a passing student on the fly. In the video, a tall, slender boy in a black hoodie crouched at the end of the hallway, hands clutching his head, shoulders shaking violently. A few people were gathered nearby, unsure whether to approach. The image is blurry, but I recognize that figure from behind. That black hoodie, that crouching posture. It was exactly the same way he was curled up in the corner of the bed 4 months ago. Comments under the video. Who is this? Too much exam pressure. Sounds like a mental health issue. Should go see a doctor. The pressure on college students these days is really intense. I left the video call, locked the screen, placed it on the desk, closed my eyes for a moment. 3 seconds. Open your eyes. Keep packing. When Guhong, in my past life, you left me to shatter in the darkness for 50 years with no one the wiser. No one saw. No one cared. No one recorded it. And you. In full view of everyone. In the hallway. Before the lenses of every phone camera. It's broken. That's what fair looks like. I zipped up the suitcase. I let out a sigh. Winter break. Returning to Linchuan. I want to see him. I should visit him as a friend at his most vulnerable moment. Stand by his side. Let him keep relying on me. Keep trusting me. Keep thinking I'm the only one who truly understands him. This is important, because the final collapse must be witnessed by my own eyes. Otherwise incomplete. Winter vacation. The 23rd day of the 12th lunar month. Linchuan saw its first snowfall of the winter. As I pull my suitcase out of the train station, a light layer of white had already accumulated on the ground. I took a taxi back to my rented apartment. I set down my luggage and gave the place a quick tidy up. Then I texted Wen Gushing I'm back. Wanna grab some food? Waited 10 minutes. He replied, sure. Where to? The usual. That braised chicken place by the school gate. Sure. 6 p.m. 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock in the evening. Braised chicken with rice. He was already seated inside. When I arrived by the window, I pushed the door open and glanced at him. He'd lost weight. A lot. The contours of his face had grown sharper than they were 4 months ago. His cheekbones stood out, his chin more pointed. The eye sockets are slightly sunken. The skin had an unhealthy, ashen pallor. Lips were chapped and dry. He looked completely drained, as if all the moisture had been sucked out of him. But when he saw me, he managed a faint smile. Look north. Here I am, I said as I sat down. Have you ordered yet? Not yet. All right, boss. 2 orders of braised chicken, 1 spicy, and 1 mild. Got it. I turned to look at him. He's tearing up a tissue. Unconscious movement. Tear the tissue paper into thin strips and arrange them in a row. You've lost weight, I said. Yeah. He nodded. I can't really stomach the cafeteria food. No appetite. It's not my appetite. He paused. It's just my mind wanders while I'm eating. Then I forget to eat. Zoning out. Signs of sustained attentional engagement. Have you seen a doctor? I asked. I did. His fingers were still tearing at the tissue. Switched to a different medication. It's a bit better than before. That the voices are quieter. That's good. Food's here. I started eating. He picked up his bowl. 2. But ate very slowly. He chewed each mouthful for a long time, as if it was some kind of duty. After eating about a third of it, he set down his chopsticks. Enough. I didn't force him. Gazing northward. He looks out the window. It's snowing outside. The street lights cast a warm yellow glow on the falling snow. I failed 4 courses this semester. I set down my chopsticks. 4 doors. Right. Last time. Shen Yuhua said it was 2 courses. That was for midterms. Finals. There are 2 more now. My academic advisor called me in for a talk. He said, his voice flat, as if he were talking about someone else. They said if things don't improve next semester, I might have to repeat the year. How did you put it? I said I would try my best. He turned his head to look at me. He gave a faint smile. That smile. I recognized it. It was the kind of smile where the mouth moves, but the eyes remain dead. For 50 years, I have stood before the mirror countless times. Bai Vang, I need to talk to you about something. You tell me. I think I might not really be cut out for college. He said it very softly. It was like something he'd been thinking about for a long time. Finally spoken aloud. Why? My tone was just right. Not overly dramatic, nor dismissive. I can't really explain it. He lowered his head, staring at the row of paper napkins on the table. It's just, ever since the college entrance exams, it's like my mind hasn't been my own. He paused. I used to pick things up so easily. I'd see it once, and remember it. Once I understood something, it stuck. But now, I can't remember anything. I see it, and it's gone. Or, I remember it, but when I try to recall it a couple of days later, it feels wrong. I'm not sure anymore. And that sound, it's quieter now, but it's always there like a mosquito. You know how it is in the dead of night. A mosquito buzzing in your head. You can't quite pinpoint where it is, but you know it's there. His breath hitched for a moment. Force it down. I feel like I'm getting dumber. He said, every word, every sentence. Or maybe I was never smart to begin with. Those past achievements might not have been mine at all. That sentence, "I've been waiting a long time for this." He finally said it. Those past achievements were not truly my own. He said it himself. I don't need to spell it out. No evidence required. No need for a confrontation. He himself knows the truth perfectly well. He just hasn't broken that last thin layer of pretense. Perhaps he didn't know in the usual sense. Maybe it was just an intuition. A vague, indescribable feeling. Those things were not meant for me. That's enough. This feeling will continue to eat away at him. It's more torturous than a certain truth. Because a certain truth, at the very least, allows one to cope. And vague doubts, it only leaves people hanging. Stuck in the middle. Neither dead nor alive. I set down my chopsticks. I looked at him. Sheshing. He looked up. "You're not stupid," I said. The voice was gentle. Sincerity. Like something a best friend would say at the most crucial moment. A score of 680 on the Gaokao. "That's not stupid at all. You're just in a bit of a slump right now. Everyone goes through rough patches. Don't be so hard on yourself." He looked at me. Something glistened in his eyes. It wasn't a tear. Yes. It's a struggle. I want to believe me. But I can't convince myself. "Thank you." In the end, he only said these two words. We fell silent for a moment. I continued eating. He picked up the remaining strips of tissue paper one by one and crumpled them into a ball. "Oh, right," I said, as if something had just occurred to me. "Any plans for the new year?" "Stay home," he said. "My mom won't let me go out." "So, are you buying me a drink?" "On the 13th. I picked up something good." He hesitated for a moment. "Okay." It settled then. After the meal, I walked him to the entrance of the residential complex. The snow was falling harder now. He stood in the snow, a fine dusting of white settling on his black hoodie, looking north. Do you think a person can start over?" I looked at him. His eyes were hard to make out in the dim light, but I knew what was in them. "Start over," I repeated. "It's like if you did something wrong in the past. Is there a chance to make it right?" As he said this, he was looking at me, look into my eyes very seriously. My heart skipped a beat. He's testing the waters. A deeper probe, much more direct than last time. What mistakes have I made in the past? What is he implying? Does he know? Or is it just a vague sense of guilt? I kept my expression neutral. "Of course," I said. "Who hasn't done something they regret? What matters is what you do next." He stared at me for 3 seconds. Then she lowered her eyes. Go home. Don't catch a cold." "All right." He turned and walked into the residential compound. Walked a few steps. Stopped again. Didn't look back. Turning their back on me. Looking north. I'm sorry." The voice was very soft. So soft it was almost swallowed by the snow. I stood there. I watched his figure disappear around the corner of the residential complex. Snow falls on my shoulder. "I'm sorry." He said he was sorry. He knows. Maybe not everything. But he knows part of it. He knows there's something to do with me, that he's done me wrong. I stood there for a long time until a thick layer of snow had piled up on his shoulders. And then I turned around, heading in the opposite direction. His face was expressionless. What good is sorry 50 years? Do you have any idea what 50 years means? From the age of 18 to 68. The best years of a person's life. All of it. Not a second to spare. Trapped in a space with no exit at your service. Learning for you. I paved the way for you. And you're out there living your best life. A simple sorry. And you think that's enough? I walked through the snow. The footprints were deep. Each step left a deep impression. No. I don't want your apology. What I want is experience it firsthand. You've tasted everything I have. Fear. Chaos. Self-doubt. Utterly alone. No one believes it. Thinking I was losing my mind. Then, in the end, you'll understand. All of this combined doesn't amount to 1/10 of my 50 years. The snow fell heavier. And heavier. The world was as silent as death. I quickened my pace. Go back. Tonight. No more numbers. Tonight. Switch to something else. I want to learn something new. Then, send it to him via the link. What is it? I thought about it. Memories. I need to remember. Learning feedback transmits all information the brain receives in learning mode. If deliberately recall memories and review the experiences of those 50 years as learning material, those memories, it will also pass. When Jihong will see the world as I see it, that space without day or night, books that never end, that feeling of studying until you're sick to your stomach, but still can't stop, the gradual erosion of that spirit, he'll learn my 50 years, not a full 50 years. That would kill him on the spot, just a fragment, shards, but it was enough. Enough for him to know what he did to me tonight. I will begin to reminisce. The 25th day of the 12th lunar month, 1 o'clock in the morning in the rented room. The radiator let out a faint sound. I sat at the desk. A blank notebook lay open before me. The desk lamp was on, casting a small pool of light. I closed my eyes. I began to remember. This was no idle daydream. It is a deliberate, orderly recollection. Like sorting through archives. Switch your brain to learning mode. Tell yourself, this is an important piece of information, and I need to review it systematically. Then, memories flooded in like a breached dam. My first year trapped in that space. There was no ceiling, no floor, an endless expanse of grayish white stretched in all directions. No temperature, no sound, only the desk in front of me, and the textbooks upon it that I could never finish reading. I tried to stand up and walk. We walked for 3 hours. The scenery around remained unchanged. I tried shouting. The sound was swallowed by a grayish white void. It was like shouting into a wall of cotton. I tried not to read. Then the headache began. It drilled into my temples as if someone were boring in with a power drill. If I'm not studying, it hurts. Learning, it eases the pain. The first year, I've cried many times. Later, I couldn't cry anymore. Tears seemed to have run out. Year 5, I started talking to myself. Because it was too quiet. It was so quiet I could hear the blood flowing through my veins. I named the pen on the table. Call it Old 6, because it is my only companion in this space. Later, Lao Lu's pen refill ran out. I cried for 2 hours over an empty pen. The 10th year, I can no longer remember what the outside world looks like. What is the temperature of sunlight? What does it feel like when the wind blows on your face? What does the food taste like? Completely forgot. Only remember the formulas. Only remember the theorem. All I remember is the motion of turning the page, pinching the corner with my right hand, and flipping it to the left. I've repeated this motion millions of times. The 20th year, I've attempted suicide. Pressed the pen tip into the wrist. Blood started to flow. It hurts, but the wound healed in 3 seconds. Even the blood stains were gone. I'm not going to die. This space won't let me die. I can only keep living. Learn as you live. The 30th year. I've lost the ability to speak. My mouth opens, but no meaningful sound comes out. My tongue seems to have forgotten how to move. Her vocal cords felt like they were rusted. I became a reading machine. I skim the text. The brain processes. Knowledge flows to the other end of the link. Then turn the page. Loop. Endlessly looping. The 40th year. I saw the mirror. A mirror suddenly appeared in the space. I walked over. The person in the mirror. I didn't recognize them. It was an expressionless face. There's nothing in the eyes. Like the eyes of a dead fish. But it's even more terrifying than a dead fish. Because dead fish don't move. And this face, it was moving, breathing, alive. But it's no longer human. The 45th year. A name suddenly came to mind. Wen Jixing. Who is that? I've been thinking about this for a long time. Oh, it's that person. The one who locked me in here. I can't remember his face anymore. I can't quite recall what it felt like to hate him anymore. Hate requires energy. I'm all out of energy. I have only the strength to turn the pages. The 50th year. The loop has ended. I suddenly snapped back to reality. Standing at the edge of the 6th floor rooftop. The wind rushed in. It's whirlwind. A wind with warmth. I looked down. Below is the playground. Tiny figures are moving about. My leg moved on its own. No thought. Without hesitation. Every ounce of pain the body has stored over 50 years. It all came to a head in that moment. Like a flood breaching the final levee. I jumped. During the fall, the wind filled my ears. It was the first sound I had heard in 50 years. It was beautiful. And then, everything was gone. Until I opened my eyes again. I was standing at the school gate. Principal Xiao patted me on the shoulder. June 7th. The National College entrance exam. I opened my eyes. Back to reality. A rented room. A desk lamp. A notebook. 2:43 a.m. My face was dry. No tears. Those tears ran dry over 50 years. But my hand is trembling. A slight uncontrollable tremor. Even after all this time. Recalling that experience still triggers a physical stress response. But the objective was achieved. 1 hour and 43 minutes. My mind replayed fragments of 50 years of experience in learning mode. These fragments, it is flowing to one Jixing through the link. It's not a full 50 years, just a few snapshots and impressions from key moments. But that's enough. I took a deep breath. Another bite. My hands aren't shaking anymore. Pick up your phone. 2:43 a.m. when Jixing online. His profile picture is online. But no message came through. Perhaps they're going through those scenes right now. Perhaps shivering, curled up under the covers. Perhaps they were trying to understand why they had suddenly seen a gray-white space. Why they had felt endless loneliness and despair. Why they had known that someone had been in prison for 50 years. I'm logging out of WeChat. Put the phone down. Lie back in bed. Stare at the ceiling. That's enough for today. That's the absolute limit. Any more, and I won't be able to handle it myself. Rolled over. Close my eyes. Time to hit the hay. Tomorrow. See how he reacts. The next day. The 26th day of the 12th lunar month. The entire day. When Jixing didn't send any messages. There were no updates on his social media feed. Either. Profile picture shows online. But there's silence. I didn't reach out. Either. Waiting. Day 3. The 27th day of the 12th lunar month. 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The phone rang. Chen Yuhua. Bai Wang. Her voice was choked with tears and terror. Jixing. Something's happened to him. My heart skipped a beat. It genuinely skipped a beat. What's wrong? He suddenly told me this morning that he had found out something. Said he was sorry to someone. Said he had ruined a person's entire life. Then he just rushed out. Where is everyone now? I don't know. His phone is off. His dad's looking for him. Called the police. Bai Wang. Can you help look for him? You know him best. I've already stood up. Auntie. Don't worry. Where does he usually go? I don't know. He wasn't like this before. I'll go check. I'll let you know if I find anything. I hung up the phone. I stood in the middle of the rented room. My mind was racing. He rushed out. He said, I've wronged someone. He said, I've ruined someone's entire life. He knows everything now. Those fragments of memory. They brought it all back. To him. Or rather, it made him understand everything. He finally confirmed the truth he had been too afraid to face. The price of learning to give back was another person's life. And that person was me. Where is he now? I close my eyes. Feel the connection. The faint thread in the mind. Still here. Still connected. Direction. I focus my attention to feel roughly to the north of the city. The school. Linchuan No. 1 High School. I grabbed my jacket and rushed out. I hailed a taxi. Linchuan No. 1 High School. Hurry. The driver glanced at me. In a hurry. Right. The car started moving. I clutched my phone. My heart pounding faster. It wasn't panic. It was a premonition. A very bad feeling. Linchuan No. 1 High School. The rooftop. 6th floor. In my past life. That's where I jumped from. If he were standing there right now. The traffic was stuck for 7 minutes. 7 minutes. I almost got out of the car to run. We finally made it. The school gate wasn't locked. There was only one security guard during winter break. I ran inside. Classroom building. Go upstairs. 1st floor. 2nd floor. 3rd. Legs aching. Gasping for air. On. And on. 4th floor. 5. 6th floor. The door to the rooftop. On. I rushed over. Opened the door. The wind rushed in. It's bone-chillingly cold on the rooftop. When Jixing stood at the edge, standing with their back to me, the wind filled their school uniform, billowing it into a curve. Their hands hung at their sides, looking down. The exact same pose as in my past life. The exact same spot. Exactly the same angle. My feet were rooted to the spot. My throat tightened when Ji Sheng I called out to him. My voice was steadier than I had expected. He didn't move. Ji Sheng, his shoulder twitched, and then turned around slowly. That face, tears streaming down their face. It wasn't a full-blown sob. It was silent, uncontrollable, like tears streaming from a broken faucet. Snot and tears mingled together. Her lips were trembling. He looked at me. His eyes were bloodshot and bulging, looking north. Hoarse voice. I see it, he said. I saw it all. You've been locked up for 50 years. I turned it off. His legs were going weak, but still standing there, standing on the edge. When I was 15, something asked if I wanted to be smarter. It said all I had to do was choose one person to learn in my place. I chose you. His voice was uneven. Because you were the quietest one in class. The one no one noticed. I thought no one would find out. I thought it was just sharing knowledge. I didn't know it would. His voice suddenly rose. I didn't know it would cost you your life. The words hit like a physical blow. They echoed across the empty rooftop. The wind tore the echoes to shreds. I stood 5 m away from him. Look at him. Look at this youth, who was once as gentle and refined as jade, and now shattered like porcelain dashed upon the ground. Every single one is stained with blood. What should I say? It's okay. I forgive you or go to hell. None of the above. I took a step forward. Step back. He shook his head. I don't deserve to live. He said. Fall back. I repeated. Bai Veng. I've ruined you. You haven't. He was stunned. I'm standing right here. I said. 18 years old. Alive. Healthy. And I scored 703 points. His tears fell even harder. But those 50 years are gone. I took another step closer. 3 m. I'm back. I've taken everything back. Jinhua University, the top school in the city, and a life that's truly mine. 2 m and you. You're using this act of jumping as a way to run from what you're supposed to face. His body was trembling. The wind whipped his hair into a frenzy. Do you think jumping will settle the score? My voice turned cold. In my past life, I was the one who jumped from this exact spot, at this precise angle. I know exactly what it feels like to fall. And then nothing changed. I died. You lived. You did well. You soared. No cost at all. His breathing was completely erratic. So, I took a step closer. You think jumping will absolve you? 1 m. I moved within arm's reach of him. No. His legs went completely weak. Knees bend. Falling down. Not falling downward. It's going to the ground. He knelt down. His knees slammed onto the concrete rooftop. A muffled thud. He knelt there, his hands pressed against the ground. His fingernails scraped the rough concrete. His body was arched into a curve. The sobs finally broke free. Not a wail. A strangled, choking whimper wrenched from the depths of his chest. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Over and over again, like a broken record player. I stood before him, looked down at him. The wind rushed at me from behind. It whipped my clothes, making them snap and flutter. I watched him for a long time, and then get down on his level. Look him in the eye. Wang Jisheng. He lifted his tear-streaked face. I will never forgive you. The last glimmer of light faded from his eyes. But I don't want you to die, either. He was stunned. Death is too easy a way out. I stood up, still alive. I turned around, head for the rooftop door. Live. Watch me thrive. Watch everything you stole be taken back. Piece by piece, I push open the rooftop's iron door. This is what you deserve. I didn't look back down the stairs. One layer after another. Footsteps echoed through the empty stairwell. I stepped out of the classroom building. A light dusting of snow covered the playground. I stopped. I looked up at the edge of the rooftop. No one was there. He stepped back from the edge. I closed my eyes. Take a deep breath. His hand clenched in his pocket. Let go. Hold on tighter. Release it again. Last life. I jumped down from that spot. This life. I pulled him back from that position. Not because of kindness. It's not about forgiveness. It's because his death would be the end of it. But I refuse to let it end. I want him to live with the guilt, with nightmares, with those voices in my head, watching me stand in the spot where he once stood. Tsinghua University. Top of the class. a brilliant radiance. And he, only to look up in awe. In this lifetime, he didn't steal my light. It was me, right before his eyes, taking back what was mine. Piece by piece, the snow has stopped, the clouds have parted, a beam of light filters through a crack. It falls upon my face, warm. Chinese New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve. The rented room felt devoid of any festive New Year's spirit. I cooked a bowl of dumplings just for myself. They were frozen dumplings from the supermarket, pork, and cabbage filling. I sat at the table to eat them. The TV is off. The phone is placed nearby. Quiet. By the time I reached the third one, my phone lit up. A message from Wen Jixing. I didn't read it right away. I ate 2 more. Then I wiped my hands and picked up my phone. A long passage of text. Bai Vang. I don't know if you'll see this message, or if you'd even want to, but I still need to say it. After that day on the rooftop, I went home. My mother held me and cried for a long time. My father slapped me. Then he held me and cried, too. I went to the hospital and had a comprehensive checkup, including psychiatry, psychology, and neurology. The doctor said I have moderate depression and PTSD. I've been prescribed medication, and I'm taking it, but I know what's in my head can't be fixed with medicine. Every word you said on the rooftop, I haven't forgotten a single one. Death is too easy. Living is the real punishment. I will survive. It's not about atonement. There's no atoning for it. 50 years of something. Apologies. And tears can't repay that. But I'll keep living. Looking at you. Seeing you doing well. It's the only thing I can do. Happy New Year. Bai Wang. I've finished reading it. Put your phone down. Keep eating the dumplings. There was no reply. When I bit into the 7th dumpling, juice burst out, burned my mouth. I wiped the corner of my mouth. Thought for a moment. Picked up my phone. Typed 2 characters. Happiness. Send. Then locked the screen. Set aside. Keep eating. Outside the window on New Year's Eve, sporadic fireworks crackled in the distance. Not sure whose house it's coming from. I walked to the window. Opened the window. A cold wind rushed in. In the distance, light blooms across the sky. Red. Golden. Like blossoms blooming one by one against a dark curtain. I leaned against the window frame. Watched for a while. His lips twitched. This is the first Lunar New Year's Eve since my rebirth. 18 to live. Studying mathematics at Tsinghua University. Top in the city's science stream. The future. It's laid out clearly before our eyes. 50 years stolen from my past life. It took me 7 months to start getting it back. Far from enough, but off to a good start. I closed the window. Back to the desk. There was one last dumpling left in the bowl. Picked it up with the chopsticks. Ate it. Then cleared away the bowl. And utensils. Wash it clean. Dry it off. Put it back in the cupboard. Sit at the table. Open the notebook. Turn to that page of the list. College stage plan. A small line of text followed the first item. Final GPA 4.0. Rule 2. Maintain the relationship. Rule 3. Link observation. In progress. Rule 4. Wait. I've added a new line after Rule 4. 5th. Stay alive. Pause for a moment. Added a few more words. Live better than him. Closed the notebook. Turned off the desk lamp. The sound of fireworks outside the window grew more and more frequent. The whole city is celebrating the new year. I lay back down on the bed. I closed my eyes. That connection in my mind was still there. A thin, single thread. It's connected to a certain direction. It's connected to Wen Jixing. From now on, I won't use it to attack him anymore. No need. He's broken. Enough of this brokenness. Next, I only need to do one thing. Live. To live fiercely. Brilliantly. For all to see. Live. Let my life it became the greatest punishment of his remaining years. Every time he looks at me, everyone was looking at that mirror. It reveals what he stole. Revealing what he owes. Reflecting the debt he could never repay. This is my revenge. Not to destroy him. To surpass him. Then let him see it with his own eyes. A lifetime. The last firework outside the window burst. A golden light spilled in through the gap in the curtains. It fell upon the ceiling like scattered gold dust. I closed my eyes. Her lips curled slightly. Happy New Year. Ki Bai Vang. Your second life starts now.